Welcome back, everybody. My name's Trevor. I'm with Market Delta, and this is our deep dive entitled Everything Delta. In this video, I'm going to cover a lot of the different tools that are available within the software that cover Delta. Now, that doesn't mean you have to necessarily have the software to make sense of this. There's a lot of good educational material and concepts that'll be taught throughout, but you'll see me referencing studies that are available in the software to convey the points and just show you some of the tools that are available to do things other than what the footprint offers. So our agenda is going to be, I want to give you a definition of delta. We're going to look at the volume study and some of the parameters, the unique parameters available within it. We're going to look at the delta bars study, which has a couple different settings I want to bring your attention to for analyzing delta. The footprint bar statistics, we'll look at that study, and the volume profile study set to delta profile. And then last but not least is the delta divergence, which is a custom study. It's a one-time paid add-on to Market Delta, but I want to show you that because that leverages the concept of delta in a custom study way to automatically signal on the chart so that you can see some opportunities. So that'll be the last thing we look at. But let's just jump right into the definition of delta. Now, hopefully you've watched some of the other deep dives leading up to this. You probably have a pretty good idea if so. But if you don't, I want to recap what the definition of delta really is. So it's ask traded volume minus bid traded volume equals delta. So looking at these screenshots that I have on this screen here, this is an imbalance footprint, and this is a delta footprint. So we're going to walk down through. So the math is subtracting the bid traded volume, which is to the left of X, from the ask traded volume. And so it's basically, think of it as 9 minus 0 is 9, positive 9, right? And this X, this is a separator. It's not a mathematical operator, so don't let that confuse you. So subtracting 154 from 220 is a positive 66. Subtracting 294 from 255 gives us a negative 39. A negative. So this is our first negative delta, meaning we saw net selling or negative order flow. I shouldn't say negative order flow, just net selling, more aggressive selling. Moving down one price, 159 subtracted from 73 is minus 86, another negative delta, and then 12 subtracted from 0 is a minus 12. So you can see these bottom three prices had a negative delta, and these top two had a positive delta. Now, we're looking at a price by price delta, but as you're going to see as we go, you can also look at a bar by bar delta. And a bar by bar delta is simply you'd sum up all these values to get a total delta for the bar. I'll show you how to do that because that's actually a very useful number to look at, or in some cases chart, because we can make it a histogram. So that's something you'll see us talk about. So a lot of times you'll hear us refer to delta, meaning the footprint delta, or the bar by bar delta. Okay, so how can delta be displayed? I've kind of just touched on this. Delta can be shown for each footprint, or it can be summed up for each price, which I did not really show, or it can be summed up for each bar, or it can be summed up for the entire day. So let's, what's that mean? Well, delta for each footprint is what I just showed. That's how we really just learned what delta means and how it's calculated. Delta for each price would be, think of, you got a particular price and that price is trading in and out throughout the day, from morning till close. Well, as it trades all day long through, there's a way to calculate the delta for that particular price. That's actually what the delta profile will show us, and we'll take a look at that. Then delta for each bar, that's just that total delta for the bar, sums up all the footprint values and gives us just a single value for the bar. And then for the entire day, what that means is that sums up all the bars, all the deltas for each bar, sums them up to give us a running total of delta, which you can really think of it as kind of like a running total of order flow. Are they net long or are they net short? A lot of times that's called cumulative delta. So it's a very helpful tool to look at. You can almost think of it as something to help keep you on the right side of the market. If it's positive, you're seeing net longs, you're seeing accumulation, so it actually lends itself well to being long the market. If it's a negative number, then it's probably you're probably more prone to be short. The market is more short, and it's a safer trade that way because you're with the trend. So today we'll be focusing on number 2, 3, and 4, not the footprint. That was covered in some other deep dive videos, and so we're going to really dive into 2, 3, 4 today. So let's take a look here at the volume. This is the volume study within Market Delta Desktop, and you have delta. So it's set to delta, and what we're looking at is this lower pane right down here, and it here, let me turn on my laser pointer. We're looking at this pane right down here, this bottom pane, and each of these is just a histogram telling us what the delta was for each bar. Now the current bar, this will build in real time. So as the market's trading, as aggressive buyers are lifting the offer, aggressive sellers are hitting the bid, you'll see this grow and shrink. It might be green, then it may actually go red and go negative. So not until the bar closes does it actually lock in a delta value. And what some rules of thumb, things you want to look for, especially if you're new to the product or new to the footprint and order flow concepts, is price direction. There's a high correlation of price direction with delta. So price movement down correlates to negative deltas. Price movement up correlates to positive delta. So we're looking for confirmation. We're also looking for divergences. And that's what the delta divergence does, that custom study that I'll show you at the end. It's actually looking for instances where we get a price move, but the order flow doesn't confirm it. That's a big warning signal and a great trade opportunity oftentimes. Again, we're on the volume study. This time we set it to delta momentum. So delta momentum is, I think I have it right, it's this lower pane. What I have, this is delta, and I put this on here because I want you to see that we just looked at this. This was the delta, just the delta per bar, and the lower pane is delta momentum. I'll show you how to set this up in the software here in a little bit. But delta momentum, what it does, as long as the delta remains negative, it keeps adding them up more and more. So it basically adds this one to this one, and then this one would get added to the sum of these two, so on and so forth. So as long as the delta is negative, it'll continue to build. So it's a momentum. And this is great for trends. You're really looking for it to confirm the trend. It helps you really stick with the trend, hopefully longer, because you're not just witnessing price move lower, but you're also seeing the order flow be confirmed in the form of delta momentum. Here it finally went positive, right? So we had a string of negative delta, then it went positive. And that resets the momentum from negative to positive, which is what you see down here. we then had a positive delta momentum. However, it wasn't. It was very short-lived, and the selling momentum resumed. Now, price didn't move lower very much, but it is what happened. Okay, so I know they kind of look the same, but actually these bars are growing in the negative, each one. That's showing you the magnitude of the momentum. All right, next. Volume study. This time we have it set to delta day. So this is one of the ways to view cumulative delta. I'm going to show you another way, but if you set the volume study to delta day, what this is a running total of delta, but it's shown as a histogram. So here, the delta was positive for the day, and it was a little more positive, and then the delta for this bar was, it must have been negative because the cumulative delta dropped off. Then it came back. So this is a way, it's just letting you see what that cumulative delta is. So at this current moment in time, there was 4,308 net contracts long or bought. So it gives you that running total of kind of net long or net short. Again, this is called delta day. It's part of the volume study. All right, the next study we want to look at is delta bars. It's called the delta bars study. This is a bar by bar of delta. It's very similar to the volume study set to delta, except this one actually builds a candle for delta. So let's take a look right here. Let's take a look at this bar. You can see my laser pointer. Okay, so we had a real strong delta on this bar. This bar, it always opens at 0 and trade, and that's just the way it is. Delta, it starts at 0, and it traded all the way up. But then, and this is really good information, it actually sold off. The delta sold off and actually closed lower, closed with a negative delta. Well, here's why this is so nice. I actually use this study myself on most of my charts, most of my footprints, is I can see, despite the fact that price traded higher, price did closed on its low, but I can see a big reversal in delta. It traded up just like the previous one, but then it really got hit and sold off, and you can see price rolled over. So this was a great signal here, and you can see each of these, it would try, but then it would get smashed back down. So each of these had a tail. So these are called delta bars. They behave like a candle. They build like a candle. Show you they show you the travel of delta for the bar, and let you know if it closed, on its highs or on its lows, or was it rejected. So this is really a measure of order flow. It's like an order flow candle, if you want to think of it. That's the best way to say it. So I really like these, and this is a great example of why I like that. So let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so this is the same study that we just looked at, delta bar study, except there's a little checkbox I'll show you. You check it to accumulate. So what it does is it builds a cumulative delta. So this is basically your candlesticks of cumulative delta. So it just keeps adding the delta of all the bars for the session, and shows you a cumulative delta. So I think this is the same bar. Let's see, is this the same one we were just looking at? Yeah. So this is the same move we were just looking at on the previous slide. You can see what it looked like in terms of cumulative delta, and just how it evolved on the cumulative delta. So this is a very, very popular study as well. All right, now here I'm just comparing all three. This is the volume study. It's the volume study, and I just have the delta day up, delta momentum, and then delta. I just wanted to put them all on the screen so you could kind of see them all in relation to one another and get a feel for um, just how they all relate to each other. I don't have any specific comments on this. I've covered them in the previous slides, but I just wanted you to see this. Plus, it's kind of nice to know that you can add them in multiples like this if you'd like. All right, this next one is called Footprint Bar Statistics. And this one, what it does is it's not a graphical representation of the data. It is more of a tabular numeric view of data, or a lot of it. And what you can do, you have the option to add these rows of data, of delta data, to the chart. You don't have to view them all. You can just view one of these rows if you wanted to. You can view them in any order. But let me just kind of walk through them. You should probably know what most of them are by now, just by the name. So you see the title over here on the right side. So delta, this is actually the numeric value of delta. It's not a graph. It's just showing you the raw number of what the delta was for a particular bar. So this bar right here had a delta of 2496, 2496. The next row down, delta day, that is that running total. It's the cumulative delta. That's all it is, cumulative delta. So you can see it was fairly negative in here. It started to get a little less negative and was heading towards neutral to even close to positive here on this current bar. So remember earlier I said how delta correlates highly with price direction. So you can see as the market bottomed out here, we had a cumulative delta of minus 4,712. As it rallied up, it became closer to a positive number. Still negative, but it wasn't as negative. So it was basically growing. The delta was it was an upward sloped trajectory. Max and min delta. Well, that's simply, remember those delta bars we looked at that had the wicks and the candle of delta? Well, the max delta and min delta is essentially keeping track of what the maximum that delta achieved and the minimum. So going back to this bar here, 2496, you can see the max delta was 2581. So it closed real close to its high. The delta did, and its low was minus 170, which was probably right about the time the bar opened. So if it's, well, I'll just leave it at that. Delta change. Okay, this is the change in delta from the current bar to the previous bar, or I should say from the previous bar to the current bar. So let's look at an example. So look here at 1,617 right here. Well, that is the difference between 879 and 2496. So between these two bars, delta grew by 1,617. Going from this bar to this bar, notice the total delta went from 2496 to 864. So the delta change was actually minus 1,632. So despite price trading one tick higher, we had a big drop off in the delta change. Delta was still positive. Don't mistake what I'm saying. It was still positive. But the change in delta, you can think of it as the magnitude in delta, really dropped off. And what I've seen is it's often an early warning sign of change in trend or rotation. Doesn't mean the market's going to turn and sell off or reverse heavily, but what you do see is oftentimes it's a early warning sign of a reversal or a pause in the market. So really look at it in that light, and you'll find that these are it's a very helpful study parameter to use. Okay. Delta profile, now this is, you would add a volume profile to the chart and you would set it to delta profile in the settings, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to do that when we get into the software. Okay, so let's move on. Again, I'll show you how to do that in the software. And then last but not least is the delta divergence. Now this is a custom study. This isn't a built-in indicator. This is something you get from Market Delta. You can contact us. It's just a one-time paid add-on study. But what it does, it leverages the things that I've just discussed. For instance, this is the volume study set to delta down here at the bottom. And what it's looking for is a relationship of new highs or new lows and instances where the delta divergence pattern is present, meaning we get a new high but we get a negative delta, or we get a new low with a positive delta. So if you look right here, you could see we've got a positive delta and we've got a new low or equal to new low. So that is a divergence, and it's a reversal signal. I can't say that enough. It is a reversal signal. It does not work good in a trending market, but in a market that's probing highs, probing lows, putting in new highs, putting in new lows, kind of rotational versus just a constant trend, then it's going to signal nice. A constant trend is constantly putting in new highs. It's not really reversing, right? So this would only be signaling shorts. It wouldn't be signaling any longs because it's never coming back and putting in a new low for the day. So I usually tell people 3 strikes and you're out if you're using this study and it turns out to be a trend day. Otherwise, it produces nice reversal signals, and sometimes they could prove to be the high of the day. Other times they're just nice rotations, and you can just play the ebb and the flow, or use it to confirm levels that you have. I know guys that use it against support resistance, and they can use this to confirm that support and resistance. So that's a very good use case of it. So anyway, I just want to show you that. If there's any interest in it, please reach out to Market Delta. We can send you some screenshots, examples of the markets you trade or the time frames, the charts you look at of the last few days, and that'll give you a good idea of kind of how it's signaled. So let's go ahead now and transition over to the live platform. Okay, you should see the a footprint chart now, an imbalance footprint. This is the S&P E-mini. And what I want to do is quickly jump through these different studies we looked at. I want to add a volume study. So I have a button on my toolbar. I can click to add a volume study. Otherwise, you can right click, add study, and just choose it from the list. So anyway, I've just added it. You can see mine is automatically set to come up with delta. That's what you're looking at. But if I right click, choose modify vol, right here under the highlight, click in there, and these are your options. So most of you may have it set to total trades, right? So this is just total volume of each bar. But delta, this is our bar delta, as I say. So totals up all the deltas here and gives you an order of magnitude of what that net order flow was for the bar. So you can see it's been kind of pretty much a trend day so far today. You're only looking at the last hour or so, but it has been a trend day. And if we look at the cumulative delta, the delta day, and I hit apply, you can see it topped out around 22,000. It's since just kind of leveled out, but we still have a nice positive delta of about 15,000. So that is delta day. Delta momentum, remember, that is the running total of the momentum of deltas. So as long as we have positive deltas, it just keeps summing it up. And so this is an interesting, as I said, remember, it's been a trend day. So we're at new highs here. We got a negative delta, and it's gone sideways, yet the delta has been building negative here. They haven't been able to push it down. They've been selling it, but it hasn't been able to go. And we actually got new highs on this bar. But it is interesting. They're up here selling it, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I can tell you, based on my analysis here, we're at or near the highs, and they're selling it. So these guys are either going to be stuck short trying to sell it, and you're going to see a short covering rally, or you will see that this was a precursor of price movement. And we got about 25 minutes to the close. We'll see if price starts to roll over. The volume was a good precursor. The order flow or the delta was a precursor to what to expect. But if they start to grind this higher leading into the close, you're going to see some short covering. This thing could move 4 or 5 points fairly quickly into the close as they cover. So we'll see. The last one is bid ask. And if I hit apply, bid ask is showing just a split. It's just a breakdown of that bid traded volume and ask traded volume. I don't really find this one as useful as I do some of the others. But I want to make sure you see what that is. I rather just see the delta just tells me, which side won, the buyers or the sellers, and that's what I get to see. So let's leave it on delta day for now, since no, let's leave it on delta momentum. Let's see, since that was the one, this is interesting. We'll kind of let that play out. The other one I wanted to add was delta bars. So let me kind of crunch this one down. And I actually have, it's D bars, although this one I'll add, right click, add study, and delta bars. And you can click setup if you want to do any setup. I'm going to uncheck accumulate for now. And I'm going to click add. And you can see it's this bottom pane down here. This is that candlestick version of delta. So it's really what you see. Actually, let me change this one to delta. So it's really what you see up here, except down here you also have the pane. You get to see how it retraced or how it traveled. So I'm not going to, there's not too much to say, except I want you to understand what you're looking at here and how to apply them. All right, so I'm going to remove, well, no, let's now change. I'm going to right click on delta bars, modify delta bars, and check accumulate and hit OK. Now this is that cumulative delta, and this is the one I prefer over the delta day of this one. So these both, notice the numbers are the same, 15, 308, 309, they're the same numbers. But this does a little bit better because you can kind of see in a candlestick form travel of delta. So I think as you become maybe more experienced with it, you may prefer this one. But anyway, that's how you get cumulative delta. Add the delta bars study and just check accumulate. Or you can do it through the volume study and set it to delta day. And any of these, if you really like, once you get them set up, you can click set as defaults, and then next time you add it to a chart, it'll come up just like that. And that goes for any study within the platform. It's real easy. I'm going to go ahead and remove, I'll leave, well, let me remove this one as well. And let's now add the footprint bar statistics, FPBS. And you can see I've just added this. This looks similar to what we were just looking at on our PowerPoints. To modify this, right click, modify, and choose display. And you can see I don't have them all turned on. There are some other ones, volume, buy and sell vol. Why don't I add them all so you can see? But there they are. And if you want to arrange them, just go in here. If I want and set delta, say I want delta to be the top one and then volume to be the second one. it just arranges them accordingly. But that's how that works. Click OK. You can size it, down or whatever, however you want to view it. But you may not need them all. It's totally up to you. You can change the colors if you want to use more of a blue theme, blue versus red. You can do that. It's easy to do, and that's pretty much it. So it's real easy to turn these on and off. All right, I'll go ahead and leave that one on here for now. Let's now take a look at that volume profile. So I have a VP button. If you don't, just right click and you can add it right here. Now these are the most frequent. You may have to scroll down in your list if it's not at the top for you. And I'm going to hit setup and highlight. This is where it's important. We want to highlight Delta profile. Click OK and add it. It may take a moment for it to draw. It has to build these bars on the server and then it will send them down. And there we are. Now I want to go in here and make some adjustments. So before I describe it, I'm going to right click, choose modify, and click the display tab. Actually, I want to make the width. I'm going to make it about 10% and change display. Mine has value area on. That's what this yellow area is. So I'm going to turn that off, meaning I'm just going to say none. Click apply. And let's just kind of go with that for now. So what we're looking at, and if I crunch this up, see here they go, guys. Remember I mentioned these. We'll see if we get further move higher, but they're just continuing to grind this higher. But it may get away from these guys that were getting short in here. But what you're seeing here is it's showing you a magnitude of delta. So if it's green, it's positive delta at that price. This is where you look at that delta at price. If it's red, it's showing you negative delta. So here's what, you know how I just mentioned they're getting short. They were getting short here at 51 and 51/4. So these two, I can add a horizontal line. These two prices right here is where all that selling occurred. So you kind of know they're short right in here. And we'll see, probably around the 3. I bet if they get 53/quarters, if they get those to trade, you may see it trade to 54 quick, because that's where I wouldn't be surprised you see the stops get triggered, but we'll see. The point is that the delta profile shows you what the delta is at each price and gives you an idea of, let me remove these horizontal lines, gives you an idea of where they're stuck long, stuck short, and where there may be support and resistance. So if I scroll down, you can see this has been a big trend day. It started out way down here around the 28, 29 area, and it's been a steady grind, higher. What's interesting is this right here. This is kind of that delta POC as I refer to it. It's actually negative. I don't want to make too much of that, but that's way down here. And here we are in our current trade. They're continuing to buy it though at these higher prices. That's what. That's obviously what that's healthy. That's what we'd expect to see in a trend. If we start to see these all light up red. And remember, this is what's nice, because we can look at the delta within the footprint. We can look at it within the bar, total bar delta. You can see it's 2300, and we can look at it at a price by price level. Anyway, it's pretty neat because you can look at it in multiple dimensions. Okay, here I just flipped over to the delta divergence, and like I said, this was a trend day, and if you recall back to the slide, I'd mentioned, okay, look at this. Let's go back to our footprint real quick. Um, See how, remember what I said, if they get these 3/4, they're going to be at 4 quick. That's what we're seeing. Now you're seeing that kind of blowing out these guys right here. Anyway, I just want to point that out because it's happening just like we were kind of expecting. Um, anyway, let me get back to the delta divergence. Like I said, it's been a trend day, and if you remember when I talked the PowerPoints, it doesn't do well in trend days because it's looking at it. It's a reversal signal. It's looking at new only when we get new highs, and if we get a negative delta. So let me put the delta on here, and here we are down here. You can, if you, let's see. So let's just take like this bar. You can see a negative delta down at the bottom here. And it was new highs. That's why we got the signal. However, it's been a trend day. Like I said, usually 3 strikes and you're out. Tends to be a trend day after that is what I've just rule of thumb. But if I scroll back, let's scroll back to just yesterday. You can see yesterday started right here. You can see some of the signals that were produced. So what it's doing is looking at these new highs for the day. And are we getting a divergence? Yes, we got a delta divergence, new high with a negative delta. That's a short signal. Market rotated down about 10 handles. Got a positive signal, bounced a little. I don't want to make too big a deal, but it certainly was a nice spot to at least produce a cover, to cover up your shorts if you were here. And then it put in new lows, and this was a big low. I think it was like the 100-day moving average in the market. So this was a big level everyone was kind of watching, and we get a positive delta. Now, one thing you can note is the slope here. Notice the delta was real negative on this bar, and then less negative, and then positive. It's an upward slope with downward price direction. That's a divergence in itself, and you'll see that happen. Though it was giving you heads up. Remember I was talking about the delta change earlier when we looked at the delta change. I was talking about the difference when you'll get kind of an early warning. This is what you're seeing here. This would have been a positive delta change. We get this signal. This was a nice move. Again, this could be used as a profit taking signal. And then today has just been ugly because it's just been a continuation from that 24.16 level. It's just literally gapped open, and it's just been going all day long, and we're going to close in 10 minutes. So it's been a real strong day. But anyway, that's the delta divergence. Again, this is a custom study. It's only available from Market Delta. You'd want to just contact us. It's a one-time add-on paid indicator, and we can send it right over to you if it's something you want to get. So other than that, that covers everything I wanted to touch on in this deep dive presentation, everything Delta. If there are questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Anthony. You'll be seeing different pieces of this presentation, different studies that have been presented here used in other deep dives as well as other webinars. So you'll find that even if you don't use every single one of these studies, it provides great foundational knowledge to utilize and learn from within the other deep dives and things that we present in. So hopefully enjoyed it, and have a great day.